Hey, it's Josephine from the Pointe shop. I'm in Chicago and I'm with Lauren, and we're gonna do a point shoe fitting on what to wear when you're going into competitions or shows, because there's a different type of performance shoe that you should be wearing as opposed to a shoe that you wear during your class. So we're gonna talk about those differences here, and we're gonna use Lauren's beautiful feet. Can you point for me? Beautiful. Her toes touches the floor. Gorgeous. So she has very flexible feet, so that's something that I will keep in mind when I'm fitting her point shoes. So the shoes that she normally wears for class has a deeper vamp and a harder shank. And the reason for that is that, one, it lasts a little bit longer on her beautiful flexible feet, and it also helps her balance a little bit better, and it's a little bit more stable for her. So it's a little more safe if you're going to be in class for a very long time, because if you're in a 2-hour class, you're usually a little bit tired after that. So I'm gonna have her put on her class shoe right now. And as you can see it's a deeper vamp right here. So it's keeping her foot inside, and the shank is pretty hard, even though she's worn these a couple times already. So she has regular ribbons that she's putting on right now, and it doesn't have any stretch, and that gives her a little bit more support rather than the stretchy ribbon that a lot of dancers wear. So you have a couple different choices with ribbons as well. If you need extra support like Lauren, then the regular ribbons will probably be great for you. Wait, can you stand in first position for me? So the vamp comes up to about halfway up her foot. Can you releve for me? Okay, very good. So if you can see her feet, they look pretty good in most point shoes. But this one in particular, it holds her up a little bit more because it is stronger. It's a little bit flatter. Like I said, it's a lower profile shoe, so it does pull her back. And normally when you have flexible feet like this, it's okay to be pulled back a little bit, because normally you're so far over that you're dancing at the edge of your point shoe at the very end, and you don't want that either. So this is a pretty stable, pretty great shoe for her for class. So come down for me and come back out to first position and then releve. You'll notice that it's a little bit straighter here than the shoe that I'm going to show you next. And generally speaking, when the shoe's a little bit stronger and a little bit harder, that means that there's a little bit more glue in the shoe. And what that means is that it's a little bit louder. That's not something that you want for shows or competition, because they can definitely hear that on stage. Okay, go ahead and take those off for me. The three things that we are looking at for her class shoe for flexible feet is lower profile, it is a more stable shoe because it's a harder shank, and it's a longer vamp. She's taking off her toe pads, and the less padding you wear, the closer your shoe is to your foot. So it is prettier. Whenever your shoe is closer to your foot and you have more control over your shoes, it is a prettier line. It may not be very comfortable, but that's something that you want to keep in mind if you are wearing a different shoe for performances. Okay, so we're going to try on this shoe. This shoe is also pretty low profile, but it is a softer shank, and it's a lower vamp. It's not a low vamp, because I would never put that on Lauren, because I think she'll just roll over on her point shoes. She definitely needs to have a medium to long vamp, but we are going a little bit shorter for the performance. So go ahead and stand up for me. First position. Okay, for performances, I like her in a softer shoe so she can really work well with her feet, and she's completely on top of her box. It's a prettier line, so she has a little bit more control and manipulation on stage. Another thing that I keep in mind when we're doing point shoe fittings for performance shoes is that I tend to go a little bit smaller when you go into competition, because again, if it's a little baggy on the heel, you can really tell on stage, and you want it to be a little bit tighter. Generally, when I go to performance shoes, I go softer, so it's quieter and you can articulate your feet, and I go to a tighter shoe so that there's nothing bunching. For performances, I would like it to be a little bit more tapered in the heel so there's nothing baggy at the end. Especially if you have very flexible feet, then usually your feet shrink inside point shoes, so you have to wear it a little bit tighter than others, but you know, that's a very awesome problem to have. We're gonna go a little bit shorter, but a little bit wider in her shoes. Lauren does have a tendency to sit on top of her box, not because of anything she's doing, but just because of the shape of her foot. The tailor bunion on her pinky side and her regular bunion tends to sit a little bit on top of her wings, so we want to make sure that that's all covered. Stand up for me. Okay, and the heel looks a lot better in those. Press up on both. Beautiful. So as you can see, they are a little bit more flexible, but even when they're new, they're pretty soft. There's a little less glue in the Pointe shoes, so it's a little bit quieter. Can you go into parallel for me? And in this particular shoe, you see a little less of her bunion sticking out. And that's also important for your health because it doesn't get bigger, but also on stage, you never want anything to be sticking out. You want it to be one continuous line. So if you're looking for a performance shoe, I'd prefer that you go to a softer shoe, a tighter shoe, and something that has a really pretty line so that you can really articulate through your feet.